Welcome to another video on saved queries. The purpose of this video is to show the capability of the apply option within saved query. This is a more advanced feature. It can be used for studies or it can just be used for convenience. The main thing with this video is to show capability. This should not be the main video that is shared with the public. I highly recommend that adopters recreate this video, make the vast improvements that are needed so that the public can use these videos and that they're meaningful. So again, this is just to show basic capability and the basic functionality of what you can do with applied queries. To begin, I'm using my local environment here to show this capability. I'm going to use the G user, so I'm already logged in as the birth user from a previous video. I'm going to log out of that user, and I'm going to log back in as G so that I can show the saved queries that we have for G already. So I'm going to log in. And again, this is just a test account here, a local test account that I use, and it has some saved queries with it. Saved queries aren't named anything meaningful, but I have a few that are already done to show the functionality here. So I'm going to go up here to my main index, to my saved queries, and you'll see that I have a few of these saved queries. One thing to note, that I do have two secure saved queries. These also can be used to apply, and you don't have to be logged in to apply a saved query. And I can show this at the end of this video. I'll log out and then I'll actually bring up this list and pick this to be able to be used, and you'll see how this can be applied even though a user might not have the privileges to actually run this one secure saved query here. But for now, I'm going to start with this. Let's go look at this birth module right here. So if I go to the details of this saved birth query, it shows 7 through 10. It has data group by year, no chart, and the default map. Its number is 2. And so what I can do at this point, I have not, my session has probably timed out, so I probably don't have any query modules in my session. So I can do apply query right now, and it'll load those definitions and take me to the builder. So let's show that. So I'm going to hit apply query. I'm going to look at the selections here, and you'll see these are the selections that query had in it. If I go back, so that apply query only took place for this one operation. So if I go here to birth, and I go to let's choose a different one. Let's choose birth rate. And you'll see here I have this default. I have the year of 12, and it's displayed by year, but nothing else is selected. So if I go back to my saved query definitions, and I apply this same one, what we'll see, this saved query was using fertility rate. So let's apply query to the current query module that's in my session, which was just shown in the builder page. So let's do apply query. What's going to happen is it's going to apply as much of the criteria specified within this saved query to the current query module that's in there. So we'll say apply query, which is going to take us back to the builder page. You'll notice here that we're still birth rate. It didn't change it back to what the apply query option had in it. So I get my years because they matched up, and of course my display was already set. So again, let's go back and look and make sure. So we're talking birth rate for this module, and this one here was fertility rate. So it applied what it could, but it didn't change the data set. So it was a true apply. It supplemented the data. Now let's go do another. Let's go try this another way. Let's look at this birth query module here. I'm going to pull up the details just so we can see exactly what it is. So you'll notice it has these years, 9, 10, 11, 12, and it has the data group by geographic area, and it has mother's age group of 15, 17, and 19. Now for this one, I'm going to go ahead and load this one back in. So I have the same query module, and then we're going to do an apply. We're going to make a few extra selections and show that the apply does a supplement, not a complete overwrite of the criteria that's already in there. So I'm going to say edit criteria. When I say edit criteria, it's going to load this exact query module in there, and it's going to replace the previous one that was in there. So now you'll see I'm back to count. I'm back to my birth count right here, and I have these selections made. Now I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to deselect these three, which were automatically selected because of my saved query, and I'm going to select, we'll put a hole here, so I'll say 25, 30, and 35. Okay, so I have made those selections. Now if I submit it, you'll notice that those selections are made 25, 30, 35. Now if I go to my query definition, my save query definition, sorry, and I choose this one right here, and I say apply, what we would expect to see is the years are going to be the same, but we look at mother's age group, and here's the three that were selected from the criteria of the save query definition, and here are the three new ones. So it didn't replace them, it supplemented them, it augmented them. And so that's another way that, that the saved query, when you apply it, works. So let's take a different query module altogether. So let's go to, let's try fetal mortality, and we'll just choose this first one here. You'll notice there's nothing here that's been selected other than the defaults, which is resident, the year 2011, and it's grouped by year, and no chart. So let's go back to the save query definitions, and we'll choose this second one again here. We'll say apply query. We go back to the builder, and you'll notice the year is still 2011. The reason that year is still 2011 is because if we looked at the query definitions, XML, we would see that the dimensions are named differently between this module and the birth module. If the dimension names would have matched and the values matched, these would have been selected, but they're not because the dimension names didn't match. Well, let's go down here a little more. But this one does have mother age group, and these dimension names and values did match, so it automatically selected those three from that query definition. And we continue on down. It didn't touch any of this other stuff, and you'll see here that the group by, because this module is able to be grouped by geographic area, that was automatically selected, and the line chart was carried over. So again, this merged it together with what it could, with what dimensions matched up. So the next thing we're going to do is demonstrate how you would do a study. So for this study, what I'm going to use this same birth query save definition to demonstrate how this works. So I'm going to go back to my save query definitions, and I'm going down here to this checkbox that says remember the apply criteria selected save query definition, apply its criteria to all subsequent query data set results or requests. So what this does, when I check this box right here, it means that any apply query save query selection that I make will be kept in memory, and it'll be applied to any of your data sets that you bring up in your builder interface from this point forward until you either get out of this browser session or you come back in here and you uncheck this checkbox. So let's do our study using this second birth module save query definition. So at this point I check the box and I have to hit the apply criteria for it to go into effect. If I don't hit the apply criteria, it'll remember this checkbox, but let's just show that. Let's just say, let's go back to the builder page and we'll use this, we'll just show the secure one. We'll go to the builder page with this secure, and you'll see that nothing was applied. So we're going to go back to the Save Query Definition list index, and you'll notice here that now this text has been updated because it's wanting the user to know that you're set up to use this, but nothing has been applied. So at this point, again, we're going to use this second one. So now I'm going to hit apply. And what this is going to do is it's going to try and apply the selections of that second birth Save Query Definition, the criteria, to whatever query module is currently being worked with. So in this case, the years didn't match up, so it didn't touch that. The geographic area, and the only thing that's actually selected here was the group by and the line chart. I don't know that anything else really matched up. Can't remember if this one had geographic area or not. Let's reload this and see what the deal is. So we're going to say load the default query definition, and that blew up. Not sure why. I'll have to look at that, but let's go back in here. We'll just pick a different query module. So we'll say ED encounters, and the year didn't get set because the year dimension doesn't match up. The only thing that was selected on this was the group by, because it does have a valid geographic area to be able to group by, and it set the line chart. So in this particular case, setting that study didn't help much. Let's go back now, and we'll go back into the birth ones where the dimensions are named more consistently with each other within birth, so you should get these selections to match up. By the way, if I go to my Save Query Definitions on this, you'll notice this text now tells you that you're using this Save Query Definition to be applied. So I'm going to go back, and let's go choose. I think we're using count already, so let's say general fertility rate. And so now general fertility rate has those years selected that was with our Save Query Definition. The display by geographic area and line chart matched up, so it set those for you automatically. It wasn't able to touch this primary measure because there wasn't one selected in the other, and it doesn't match up. So I just kept the one that was there with this particular query module. So you can run this query, and you would see the results of the merged query definition with this. Let's go choose another query module that's birth, and we'll try this one right here. Again, the year dimensions matched up, so it did that. This one had the mother's age group as its criteria. It had a mother's age group selection steps, so those three values that were selected with our Save Query Definition that's being applied now are selected. Again, if we look at how we're displaying, geographic area was chosen because it's a valid option, and the line chart was valid, so it chose that. So we can select that. If we choose another query data set, let's see, you can go to birth. We'll try an advanced option here. Let's do it by small area, and we'll do a count here. We scroll down, the year dimension matched up, so those got selected. Nothing else matched the dimensions that were with that other Save Query criteria to be applied, so nothing was selected there. And this one does not have the option to display by geographic area, so it does not. It did not get selected here, but it does have the line chart, so it was selected. So as you can see, you can apply these on. And let's turn it off and show how we can turn it off. So we go back here to Save Query Definitions, and you can access this little checkbox on the list page or on a detail page. The detail page has it down here at the bottom. We can turn that off, and on this one, we can run and do whatever. Now that it's turned off, let's go back into a birth query. There's that saved this is a secure query. Let's go back into birth, and we'll choose just this count one right here, and we'll see that nothing is selected other than the default selections for this query module. So displayed by is back, the year is the default year, all of these are just stock. So turning that off now, you're not doing the applied criteria to all of your query modules from this point on. So again, when you apply any saved criteria, you have to have dimensions that match up. Otherwise, they do not work. And again, the apply criteria is a supplemental. It's a supplemental operation, which means that it doesn't replace. It only adds to if the dimension names match up. When you get to the display options, it will change those, because obviously you can't have two display bys. So it'll use the display by that was in the saved query definition that's being applied. One thing I wanted to show is that you don't actually have to be logged in to use someone's saved query definitions, and you can make those sticky as well. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to log out, and I'm going to up here on my URLs, I'll bring this down so you can see this. So I'm going to say query definition, my index, my GFG is already here. So I'm going to bring up this index here. And we got that up. And you'll see here that I'm missing my one GFG secure one because it was flagged as being private. But what I can do is I'll use this query definition right here, and I'm going to make it sticky. I'm going to apply it to all future ones until I turn it off. So I click that checkbox and I say apply criteria, and you can see here that it put the years in there, and my display by is set as that save query definition was set. So if I go out here and choose another birth module, actually let's use not that, just so we can show the years. So here's a new birth module, the years were set, these are the default for this module, group by year, no chart. So that's the way it works. Now the tricky part with this, when you use someone else's saved queries and apply them and to keep them sticky, you have to go back to turn it off. So unless you want to go into my saved query definitions and turn it off that way. So at this point I'm not logged in, so it's prompting me to log in. So I'm going to log in as this user here. And this is my list of saved query definitions. And you'll see here that it still has this checked, and it doesn't tell me that I'm using G saved query definition. It just says this is the one that you're using. So to turn it off, I would have to deselect that. If you have a user that's applying saved query definitions from another user, they would actually have to hand enter the URL and go back and turn that off. But since I have a user account, I can go in and turn that off. The checkbox here just makes the saved query definition. It puts it into your user session, and it goes away when this is unselected or until you close the browser. So it's a lot to remember. And this video needs to be reworked. It needs to be organized better. But hopefully that shows the basic capabilities of how this works and shows the gotchas that you need to be aware of, both so that you can warn your users, and more importantly, so that you can see the need to get your query module dimension names and values to be consistent so that they match up, so that you can do these applied criterias as studies and make it a lot easier and a lot more useful for your users. So I hope that was helpful. As always, please feel free to ask any questions or comment. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next video.